Just by way of introduction, my name is Craig Klein. I'm the founder and CEO of Sales Nexus, and my background's in sales. I was in the energy business leading sales teams for 15 years prior to starting Sales Nexus. And so really that's one of the key reasons for the perspective of this, of the ebook that we just released and the webinar, is coming at this from a sales point of view. Just a quick note about the Sales Nexus solution. What is Sales Nexus? Well, it's a sales CRM built by salespeople, as I said, for salespeople. It's also unlimited email marketing that's easy enough for salespeople to use, and it's bundled right into that sales CRM, but powerful enough for pro marketers. And also unlimited proactive support. So that's a big differentiator for Sales Nexus. We actually get engaged and help you get where you're going. This is not the kind of support you're used to getting from most software companies. And quick note about something we're very excited about. Coming very soon, hopefully within the month of March of 2012, we'll be releasing our new version that includes integration with LeadFerret.com. LeadFerret is a great site that I encourage you all to go check out even today. You can search for and download B2B sales contacts on LeadFerret, and they let you download the contacts for free. And the contacts include the email address, which is relevant to today's presentation. And if you're a Sales Nexus subscriber, later this month and then ongoing, you'll be able to access 250 LeadFerret sales contacts at no additional charge as a part of your Sales Nexus subscription. So we're really excited about that, and of course you'll see some announcements from us here in the coming weeks when that's officially released. Okay, so most of you have already seen our ebook that was recently released, Grow Sales with Emails, 7 Easy Ways to Sales Teams Win with Email Marketing. If you haven't, I encourage you to go and get it at salesnexus.com. There's a banner ad on the home page to download the ebook. Now, real quickly, a couple of things I found interesting about the people that registered for this webinar. I went and, in fact, you guys all answered a question when you registered, a couple of questions when you registered for the webinar. And one of them was, are you currently using an email marketing solution today? And about half of you are. About half of you aren't. We also asked about the size of your sales team. And about half of you have fewer than 10 salespeople, and half of you have more than 10 salespeople. And what was interesting is there's an inverse correlation there. Most of the smaller teams are using an email marketing solution. Most of the larger sales teams are not using an email marketing solution. So that was really interesting. So we'll try to touch on some things that will be useful to both audiences. Okay, so just a quick overview of what we're going to cover. First of all, we're going to help you get over your fear of being a spammer. We hear that from customers all the time. We know it's a big concern. It should be a big concern, but it doesn't need to be something that slows you down. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about give to get. In other words, creating emails that your customers really value, that has something, valuable to them within it, in and of itself. We're going to talk about keeping it simple. We want this, really, that's one of the core themes today. How can you get started knowing or assuming that you're not a professional marketer, that you might be a VP of sales that has 20 salespeople and you've never done any email marketing? We want to make it simple for you to get started right away. Timing is everything. So how do you make sure the right message shows up in the right place at the right time? Calls to action that qualify leads. Some of you may know that's a unique capability that the Sales Nexus system has. Certainly Sales Nexus is not the only way to do that, but we want to get into how powerful that can be in your sales process. Email marketing for existing clients. So we don't want to forget about clients. Those are important, obviously, and there's a lot of easy ways to really make email marketing to your existing clients a big, big win. And then we're going to talk about the subject line. That's a big deal. If your subject line doesn't work, your email is dead on arrival. And we're going to talk about some ideas to make sure that the subject line gets your email read. And then finally, as a bonus, we're going to get into 5 easy steps to start creating powerful content. In the end, email marketing gets a lot easier if you have a lot of content to let people have, right? We're going to get into that approach. But so we want to give you some easy steps to begin creating content that your audience will value. Okay, so one of the core tenets here is that if you are a salesperson or you run a sales team, you're already in the email marketing business. You just don't know it, right? Your salespeople are sending out hundreds of emails to prospects and customers and leads every week, some every day, right? And that's a very repetitive, unproductive process. And most importantly, it's very inconsistent. You know, no offense to your salespeople, but the salespeople that I've worked with in my career are not that great at writing emails. You know, they may be great some of the time, but they're also going to make spelling errors, and they're just going to misstate things and goof things up from time to time because they're human. And those all of that costs you time, and it costs you sales. So this, I just pasted in an example of an email that I recently received, and I sort of took out the names and everything to protect the innocent. But nothing wrong with this email. The point being, if you read through it, and I'm not going to take the time to read through it, but you can tell that this person writes an email like this multiple times a day. For every prospect that she's pursuing, she's writing some email like this and personalizing it for that individual. Gosh, how much time is going into that? And she may be real good at it, but is the next salesperson they're going to hire going to be that good at it? Obviously, systematizing this and automating it can be a big win for your customer. But again, the real point is you're already sending out lots of emails to your customers. You just don't have any control over it today. Okay, the other thing that's very important is that this is a hugely under-accessed or underutilized opportunity for most sales teams. In a sales organization where you have an email marketing solution in place already today, the way it usually works is the salespeople do what they do, and then there's a marketing person down the hall, and they run the email marketing solution, right? And there's maybe some process where once a month or so, the marketing person will gather up all your new customers or leads and put them into the email marketing solution. But by that time, they're usually, already cold leads or dead leads or whatever. And a lot of times, all they're getting is some newsletter, right? So everybody gets the same thing. So it's not really helping sales directly. It may be branding your company, and it may be keeping those people engaged with your company, and those are all good things, but they're not really driving sales today. With an integrated approach, then things really change. So this is just an example to give you a feel for the numbers. If you have 100 new leads coming in every month today, and when I say new leads, that could be referrals, it could be doors that your salespeople run around town and knock on and really knock the door down to get an opportunity, or it could be leads from your website. And let's say you're closing 20 of those out of that 100, so your close rate's 20%. that means 80 of them are lost every month, right? So in 6 months, you have 480 lost leads in your hopper, we'll call it. And if all you do is send them one email blast a month, and using very typical email marketing response rates and so on, we could plan to see 24 renewed leads per month. So in other words, out of the 480 that get your email blast today, 24 of them are going to respond to it and become a new lead effectively. So that's increased your number of leads significantly for that month. And then the same close rate applied to that 24 leads leads to 5 new sales. So that's increasing your sales for the month by 25%. We like to say that any sales organization should be able to increase sales by 10% using this simple approach easily. It's going to depend on how many leads you got coming in and whether you're doing repeat business and a lot of different things, but 10% should be a no-brainer. So as we talked about before, a lot of people kind of get stuck because they are afraid of being a quote-unquote spammer, right? And you should be. You don't want to be a spammer. But think about it from this perspective. Why do you read email yourself? Every day we all are in the same habits basically, right? In the mornings, at lunchtime, in the evenings, and some of us all dang day. We're sitting there staring at our email inbox, right? And why is that? Well, we do it to stay up to date and informed about various things. Could be business related, could be stock related, it could be news, could be, internal ongoing things in your business, whatever. We're looking for new opportunities, new customers sending in an email saying, hey, I'd like to talk to somebody about your products and services, or other types of opportunities. And we're doing it to stay in touch with friends and colleagues and customers and so on. Just, people letting us know what they're doing and what they're interested in and things like that. So that's why we read email. So as an email marketer, what do you want to do? You want to serve those needs, right? You're not a spammer if you're informing your customers about things they care about. It's that simple. So that's the perspective from which we want to come at creating this type of marketing content. So the give to get concept is really if we send an email out that gives our customers something that they can value intrinsically in and of itself, then we will end up winning a lot more of those customers or prospects or leads in terms of their attention, their loyalty, their interest in talking to us, etc., than if we overtly go and pitch our products. So really, what I wanted to do is just highlight the things you should not do. Don't pitch your product or service. And that's the number one thing that is so hard for people to get. We're salespeople, right? We're born and bred to go sell. And here we are trying to write an email, and it's very difficult to write an email that doesn't sell what you have to offer. That's a habit you got to break in email marketing. Don't tell them why your company is better, and don't offer discounts. Again, in general, we're not trying to get something from them. We're trying to give them something that they will value. Know your audience. So I like to think about it in terms of a funnel. whatever your market is, there are the people that fit the demographics of your prospect, your targeted prospect. So if you're in the real estate business, it might be everybody in a zip code, right? Or it might be everybody with a home that's valued in a certain price range within a county, whatever those things are. When I was in the oil business, there was a list of 20 companies that we would ever sell our products and services to, the largest oil companies. That was our demographics. So there are those people, whatever that is, you know how to identify it. Those are people that could one day be a customer, but they may not know about you at all, right? Then there are a subset of the overall audience that want or need a product like yours. They've identified the need for something like what you offer, and you know that they've identified it somehow. That could mean, like I wrote here, they're a home buyer. Well, we know they need a mortgage, right? They're working with a realtor to buy a home. They're going to want a mortgage. That's kind of a no-brainer. Some things are less obvious. It could be that they have gone to some third-party site or a trade association and participated in some forum, or they may have downloaded some sort of a buying guide or something like that. Then a subset of that group are the people that are interested in your product. They have contacted you somehow. They've come to your website and filled out a form requesting a free trial or a demo or a download or an appointment with a salesperson or something like that, or pricing information is obviously a good indicator. And then there's all of your customers. So each of these groups is a subset of the one above it, right? When you're creating email pieces, you need to know which of these groups you're addressing, because what works for the broad market that you're targeting is not the same thing that works for somebody who has told you they're interested in your product, right? These guys down here, it is more appropriate to give them more sort of pitches on your product, if we want to use that term, or information about your company and your product. Up here, that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. Okay. Keep it simple. If you are not already doing email marketing, like we talked about before, you ought to be able to impact your top line and your bottom line pretty quickly by doing it. So we want you to get started, but we don't want it to be so complex and contorted that you just can't get your head around it and can't get started. So a simple formula to getting the process underway is just sit down and look at yourself as a salesperson or at your sales team and make a list of the emails that you send frequently. You're quickly going to identify 2 or 3 or 4 that are being sent out multiple times every day. Then just create templates for those emails. Now, I want to point out here too, you don't have to use Sales Nexus to do this. There are other systems that will let you have email templates and things like that salespeople can use. There are certainly other options. You can do it in Outlook. So don't misunderstand. There's not only one way to do this. You should do it no matter what technology you have in place today. Then create a sales follow-up campaign. This is a great idea in any sales organization, regardless of whether you're including emails or not. It's basically create a sales process, right? But where a sales process starts is when a new lead comes in. We want to make sure we follow up on them and that they don't fall through the cracks or maybe go too long without attention or a follow-up call because we're busy on other things, right? So it might be call them and then email them and then call them a couple days after that and then email them again, you know, just back and forth for a couple of weeks. You just want to have a system to make sure you do that you follow through on those follow-ups. And a really simple and effective thing to do with email marketing is just include in that process somewhere at the right point based on your audience, your customers, an email that just asks for an appointment. You know, I mean, that's sometimes, certainly when you're calling on business customers, getting those people on the phone is the most difficult challenge, right? They may be hugely interested in your product or service, but they're just so busy you can't get them on the phone and talk about it. A lot of times, a simple email just saying, hey, I've called a couple times and haven't been able to catch you. Is there a good time for us to talk? Is the easiest thing for them to respond to. It's quicker for them. It's easier for them to just hit reply and say, yeah, call me tomorrow at 4 p.m. So you're moving the sales process forward by including a very simple email. The other thing you can do is just create some sort of helpful tip type of emails. You know your audience. You know what they need. You also know what they commonly don't know or are somewhat ignorant about. Create some emails to inform them about those things. They'll find it interesting, and of course it brands you as an expert in your industry. So, you know, this is just a very simple example. 3 easy ways to store household chemicals safely. If you're in the business of providing perhaps organic cleaning materials for the household, that might be a neat and sort of sly way to do email marketing, right? Because who's going to respond to that? People who are concerned about the poisonous chemicals in their home. Maybe they have young children or something like that. That's your target customer. Okay, real quick, I want to show you how easy this can be. I'm just going to create a template. For those of you who have not ever done this before, I just want you to see it's pretty simple. I'm in Sales Nexus, and I'm going to create a new email template. So I can add my logo in and other images and stuff. That should be pretty simple no matter what system you're using. So I'm going to insert that logo, and then I'm just going to type Dear, and over here on the right I'm going to find the first name field and double click it, and it inserts a mail merge field for me. And then I can find the company field. And put that mail merge field in. And put the company back in again. So on and so forth. I won't go through the rest of the details, but basically I put my signature in and I'm done. Very simple, no big deal, but you're going to get replies to this, right? To people, from the right people, the people that actually want to talk to your sales team. And the fact that we're using the mail merge templates, or I'm sorry, the mail merge fields, is really key because it's personalizing it for each of those people, and they're going to read it more thoroughly because it includes personal information about them. So I create my template, and then as a sales guy, I'm talking to Christopher here, and I get off the phone, and I've told him that I've got, that I'm going to send him a couple of links to maybe a training video or something like that on my site. So I've got my template already built. I just open it up and send it off to Christopher with a couple of clicks. So you're saving your sales team time and making sure the messages are consistent. In the case where you're trying to send people back to your website, you're making sure all the links work and just the little human error things don't derail things, right? Okay, so let's get back to the slides. Okay, so in terms of timing, where in your sales process should you start using emails? Well, getting an appointment and that sort of thing, that's one easy way. But the other thing I like to think about is, in your sales process, where do things most commonly stall? If it's, we're real good at getting the meeting and doing the presentation, and then we do the proposals, and that's where sometimes we just never get to talk to the person again. Okay, let's create an email that helps people move forward after getting a proposal. That takes, obviously we'd want to ask some questions about, well, why are sales opportunities stalling at that point? It might be all sorts of different things, but some simple examples of what you can do, or the types of emails you can create, are an ROI analysis. In other words, if for instance in technology, typically you're trying to sell somebody on an investment in something that they've never had before. So you have to show them why that investment makes sense. So a lot of times you talk to them about all the cool features and you do your presentation, and then they get the proposal and they get sticker shock and they go, oh, no, we can't afford that, right? And that's very common. So you put together an ROI analysis that comes hot on the heels of the proposal, that shows them for every $1,000 you invest in this kind of technology, you should expect to see $10,000 on your bottom line at the end of the year. Okay, now I'm a little more interested, right? Or if you're losing a lot of business to the competition, well, let's create an email that directly compares you with your competition. And obviously, because you're creating the email, you get to put your best foot forward. And what's very powerful about this type of thing is, a lot of times, especially in a business situation where there's multiple influencers making the decision, these types of pieces are the things that get forwarded to the executives that you never get to talk to. So that can be another way that this can be very powerful. Okay, real quick, I just want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, type it in the GoToWebinar panel there where it says questions, and I'll be happy to respond to those as you type them in. Okay, calls to action that qualify leads. This is very exciting to me. I wish I had this kind of technology back when I was a frontline sales guy. I mean, it just totally changes the game. So what I mean by this is, in my email, I'm conveying various pieces of information to the reader, but if it's well done, there's always going to be some call to action. What do you want the reader to do as a result of reading this information? What is the action that you're trying to drive them towards? Is it, go to my website and start a free trial? Or is it schedule an appointment with a salesperson? Is it download some free resource, etc.? Whatever that action is, if you can create an email that really compels them to take that action, then an email marketing solution can really change your sales process and really maximize the results. Really switch things around to where your salespeople are now spending all their time on the phone with highly qualified prospects rather than most of their time chasing not so qualified prospects. And that's guaranteed to really supercharge your sales engine. You know, what I'm referring to there is, as salespeople, as we've already talked about, we spend a lot of our time just chasing names and phone numbers, people we've never talked to and know very little about. And then a lot of times when we finally get them on the phone, after a little bit of conversation, we determine that they're really not that hot a prospect, right? So we have to chase a lot of people, and then we narrow it down to those that we were actually able to connect with, and then of those, the ones that are actually a qualified prospect. And so we end up spending a very small percentage of our time on those qualified prospects. So with an email marketing solution, let me show you how this will work. I can come in here and put Christopher on an email campaign. In fact, he's already on an email campaign. You see all these emails scheduled to go out on the 12th and the 14th and the 16th and so on. And that's just going to go out automatically, right? And if I turn on what we call the click notifications or open notifications, as a salesperson, I can come in here to my task list and see prospects that have recently clicked or opened my email. So as a sales guy, I just come in every day and boom, my prospect is, or my task list is covered up with people to call on. Or I can do an email blast, and here I'll just show you an example. Here are the emails I sent out about today's webinar. And I can go in and say, show me the list of people that clicked or opened that email. Right, so there's the list of people that opened that email, right? So I could, there they are, there's their names. I can click here, make this my current lookup, and start calling them. So let me go back to my slides here and show you why that's so important. Because if you opened my email out, you know, if I sent out 1,000 emails and 200 of them opened and read my email, well, those 200 are much better prospects than the other 800, right? And then if within that email there's a real strong call to action, like here, download our report, most common shipping and receiving injuries and accidents. Well, if I'm in the business of outsourcing shipping and receiving operations at a business, the people that click to download this report, those are probably very hot prospects for me, right? They're telling me by the virtue of their clicking on the link that they have an interest in reducing or protecting themselves against injuries and accidents in their shipping and receiving department, right? So that's the concept there. Okay, talked earlier about remembering your customers. There's a lot of reasons to do it. I've just tried to summarize the most valuable or tangible, I guess. Increase revenue per customer. If you sell a long list of different things, then a lot of your customers may not be totally informed about all of those things, right? So if nothing happens except that they get informed about the other things they haven't already bought, it's guaranteed to drive some additional revenue. Lengthen customer lifetime. If you're staying in touch with them via email, it has the same effect as staying in touch with them via phone. You know, you might, if a lot of insurance people have processes where they're going to reach out to every customer once a quarter, you know, just how you doing, and do you have any needs we can address for you? Well, you can do the same thing with email. Increase referrals, right? Just send out an email to your customers. Hey, you know, if you know anybody that might be interested in what we have to offer or what you're using, let us know. And of course, you can be more sophisticated and create more of a formal referral plan where they get a reward or something like that. Reduce operational and support costs. So in a service business, just communicating with your paying customers and coordinating things and providing the service to that customer is a big part of your costs, of course. And using email to coordinate that and convey information and direct people to resources and so on can reduce their need to speak with people on the phone. And a quick note on that, I've encountered a lot of people who kind of look at that as I don't know the best way to say it, but for lack of a better way, as a shortcut, you know. But I've learned firsthand in our business that there are a lot of customers who don't want to talk to you on the phone. You know, that might be kind of a hard concept for some of us dyed-in-the-wool sales guys to get used to. But really, it's just simpler and easier for them to be able to get the information they need online or somehow without spending time on the phone with somebody. And they're busy, and if you serve that need, they're going to appreciate it. Okay, subject line. The way somebody explained it to me years ago is if you think about how you check your inbox day in and day out, what's most typical is you go to your inbox and you scan it with your eye, and you look at the from field. You're looking for people you know, right? For most of us, we'll be looking for customers or prospects that we're currently working with, right? And those are going to get the most immediate attention. Obviously, your spouse might probably get quick attention, and friends and so on. And then only after you've cycled through all of those do you begin to look at the ones from people you do not recognize. If you don't know who this person is, then you're already starting to think, oh, you know what? This might be some spam. I may not want to waste my time on it. So in that case, what you then do is you look at the subject line. And if the subject line does not grab your attention, most often they're just going to delete it. So the point here is that you can write the most beautiful email copy in the world. You can have the most compelling calls to actions you've ever seen. You could have a graphic designer design the most wonderful HTML design you've ever seen. And none of it matters a whit if your subject line doesn't work. So for those of you who are experienced marketers, you know, it's a lot like writing a headline. If the headline in the ad doesn't work, then the rest of the ad is already very much handicapped. Same thing with email. So that can be really daunting for somebody that's not experienced with this stuff. We have a link on a page on our site that was put together for us by an email marketing guru, Steve Green, that we work with a lot. And he put together a list of what he calls spam words. These are words that you should never use in your email subject line because spam filters see that as an indicator of spam. So things like free and discount and stuff like that. But there's 200 or so words that he's got on his list. Don't let this slow you down. The best way to do it is think about your customer, what their hot buttons are, what they're looking for, or what they're afraid of, or what they really want or need. And write a subject line that hits them right there. And then just test and measure it. You're not going to get it perfect. With most email marketing solutions, like we just looked at a minute ago, you can go in and say, show me how many people opened this email. So you might want to take your email and send it out twice or 3 times to different groups of people with a different subject line and see which one works better. Scott just put in a question here. Absolutely. As a follow-up to the webinar today, I'll send out an email to all the attendees with some links, and I'll make sure that that spam words page is one of those. Okay, so how do we get started actually creating content that your customers will love? The objective is we want your customers to see your email in their inbox and want to read it, not to see it as, okay, here's another one of those things, another newsletter from so-and-so or whatever, right? We want them to go, oh, wow, let's see what Scott put together. And it's not that hard, especially in business-to-business situations, but also in more consumer or retail businesses. You are an expert at what you do. Whatever that is, that's where we want to really focus our energy here. Ask yourself, when you're talking to customers, you know, there are those who are very sort of savvy customers, very experienced, that maybe they bought whatever it is you sell, they've bought this 2 or 3 times before. Well, what is it that they know that the newbies, the guys you talk to that this is their first go-round, they have no clue? Let's write about that stuff. Because obviously those newbies, the newness, their inexperience, the fear factor is going to be one of the things that slows them down the most. And if you can make them feel safe, you're going to win their business. Some examples would be, you know, in the real estate business, that's a very competitive business, as we all know. And if you've never bought a home, you can very quickly be overwhelmed by the whole process, right? All these people start getting involved, and you have to go get pre-approved with your mortgage lender, and who's the right mortgage lender, and wow, I just wanted to buy a home, right? Create something that helps them understand that process. You know, maybe it's just a simple bullet list in an email of things you're going to need to work on. You're going to need to talk to a banker or a mortgage broker and see if you can get a pre-approval. You know, you're going to need to do this, that, and the other thing, or things to prepare to get pre-approved, things like that. Also, you know, we're salespeople, so we're always talking to customers and telling them about all the wonderful things that we know about their business, our products, etc. Record yourself on the phone. When you get on the phone with a prospect and you start going through that same old spiel that you do over and over again, day in and day out, just record it. And you're going to see, in doing that, you're going to hear the common themes real quickly. The exercise I really like is, imagine yourself at the family reunion or the holiday get-together, and you're standing there talking to your brother-in-law that you only see 2 or 3 times a year, and he asks you about your business. And especially if you're in a very unique industry or niche or some sort of technology product, they may have very little clue what you're talking about when you give them the high level explanation, right? So what the things are that you have to explain to other people about what you do that really helps the novice understand what you do, right? Believe it or not, those same things are the things that your customers want to hear about, because they don't know either. You may think they do, because you probably deal with a lot of probably your biggest customers and most important customers are the most informed. But for every one of them, there's 10 or 100 that are virtually clueless and would love to hear what you know. Obviously, eventually you got to sit down and write it, right? And for the most part, we're talking about writing emails, writing ebooks, writing white papers, etc. We may also be talking about shooting some video here, or recording, an audio presentation or something like that. But don't let procrastination kill you. Put it on your calendar. Block out a half a day if you need to, and sit down and do it. Do it on a Saturday. Go out in the backyard or up in your study and shut the door and just sit down and try. Writing, as most of you probably already know, is one of those things that once you open up the spigot, it starts coming pretty easily. It's turning the spigot that's often very difficult. So put it on your calendar, plan for it, and just make it happen. And then, tell stories and make it fun. In industrial or B2B situations, the best thing you do is tell stories about other customers. Success stories of, we had this problem, we found ABC, and wow, here's the results. Or horror stories. Here's a company that has a very common situation, but for whatever reason didn't do anything about it, and here's the terrible consequence that they had to deal with, that of course your product or service will help them avoid. Make it fun. Don't be afraid to be a little bit silly, and have a sense of humor. It just sets you apart from everybody else. That's the main thing. So have a little bit of fun with it, and get your another way to do that is get other people on your team involved. It doesn't, if you're the CEO or the president or the marketing person or the sales leader, it doesn't have to be just you. It could be the receptionist. If she's a fun, humorous girl, then get her involved. Okay, well, I really appreciate everybody's time and attention today. And a couple of things, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be sending out an email as a follow-on to everybody that attended today, and there'll be a few links. The first one will be to a video that's going to show you exactly how this can work in Sales Nexus. Very short, a 4 or 5 minute little video. So I'll send you a link to that so you can see how an email marketing process really works and gets automated in Sales Nexus. Also, you may want to join our administrative training session. That's every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's where we look at setting up Sales Nexus to fit your business and your sales process. So there's a lot of things we're going to touch on there, like creating fields in the database and so on, but also creating email templates and campaigns. And then finally, we've recently introduced what we call the Content Marketing Jumpstart. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I really got to do this, I'm hearing what Craig's saying, but gosh, I'm not really sure, or I'm not the creative type, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it started. For $2.99, we'll get on the phone with you, brainstorm a little bit, learn enough about your business to start coming up with some ideas and suggesting some approaches, see what you're comfortable with and what you like, and then the deliverable at the end of that engagement is a written set of recommendations of a campaign, basically an outline with suggested subject lines and at a minimum the theme of the email itself. In some cases that might be a very in-depth campaign that's 10 steps long. In some cases it might be just a single email. Depends on what's appropriate for you and your audience. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, just send an email to sales@salesnexus.com and just put Content Marketing Jumpstart in there, and we'll be in touch with you to get that started for you. Okay, well, again, I appreciate everybody's time, and if there's anything at all that I can do to help you, feel free to reach out to me. Most of you should probably already have